Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 21st of December. So, first things first, let's have a look at the potential news events out this morning. If I can find the right page, it would be good. There we go. And financial is the one. So, what we're looking for down here then. We haven't got a great deal here. Canadian sales, retail sales out at 130. Crikey, there's very little today, so quite old day. Let me just check the other calendar I have here. I use retail sales. Final GDP, missed that, 130. Overlooked that. Unemployment claims, but they don't really, they're weekly figures, they don't do too much at all. Normally, unless they was spectacularly different. So not a great deal is the answer. Let's look at the technicals then. Euro dollar. So we're seeing this consolidation. These inside bar yesterday, really cooking there. You see what's the shape that's sort of forming here, the very unreliable penalty shape that's sitting there. It's a 50-50 which way it really goes normally. What I'd like to see, if it starts moving maybe to the upside, a break above the 50 MA, the previous high here from 5 o'clock this morning, earlier this morning. A bit more potentially reading the upside, but you've got to also watch out for the trend line as well. But it's a bit of an unreliable pattern it's sitting in there. Let me just move this one across as well. So there we go. Bit of a pattern. It's, as I say, a bit of a 50-50. So worth a watch. It might kick out this afternoon a little bit more, but yesterday, well, what did it do? It rolled initially, only to bounce and then drop back down again. Indecision. The pound, similar inside-ish bars here. If anything, this looks like it could. It's got the potential here for a lower, higher break of these lows here. We really would give the, as I say, the scope for those lower highs. So yesterday we had this the news come out there. The inflation figure quite a bit lower than expected. Eventually sort of read through the detail, and you've probably seen it on the news by now, generally brought about by the lower cost of fuel. Not when it sticks, it's not. Anyway, we've got the potential there then to break those lows. That might be interesting later. US dollar yen, nothing day yesterday. Just literally paddled for ages in its chop. It has since moved over. So you just see what was going on there. Just paddled it over, just popped up the top there, and rolled back in the direction I thought it would initially go. But it's, well, a bit unreliable where it's sitting. It has put lower highs in. I would only really want to be looking on the intermediate short-term positions to the downside, and it's nothing setting there at the moment. Aussie dollar. So the Aussie dollar running back up there. It's been a little bit more lively. Yesterday it fell away. We do keep having these little periods. Actually, I was looking at it yesterday, and it was it had a load of buy orders above there. Never triggered and pushed up there. Didn't really have enough demand up there, I guess. At the end of the day, it's rolled off there quite strongly from 7 o'clock last night. If anything, it looks like it could roll back to the downside, however, with a bigger trend. It's a bit of an each way bet, because I can see a good excuse for the sort of flaggy pattern here for the downside here, but this could all change very soon and break the highs here and push back up and look bullish back into the highs. But it's very, very slow moving. US dollar CAD. just chopping along here, and really it's been one of the stronger held up a long way away from the lows. It did eventually break down again. It might do the same again, but it's less reliable, so not looking brilliant there either. New Zealand dollar, he says. Yep, here we go. New Zealand dollar, nice move it back into its yearly pivot there, reacting off the yearly pivot. I'm really not keen on this as a market overall. It has had and has run pretty well. It's been one of the strongest. The Aussie, New Zealand, the CAD, they've been sitting there stronger than many of the other pairs. Not looking wonderful at the moment from what it's done there. There's a lot I'd leave alone this morning, and probably it's going to be a tough one to get into a trade. We'll see what materializes post 8 o'clock, of course. But you've got this sort of flaggy pattern going on, and the Swissy, I do like the Swissy scope for further downside, but it's just such a mess where it is at the moment. Again, I look at now this on a swing basis. This would be quite nice. You'd need a decent sized stop on it, and this could be quite nice, but bearing in mind we've only got really today and a half. Tomorrow will probably thin out. Well, today's thinning out, tomorrow will be really thin, so it's not worth taking the risk on that. Euro yen has been pushing down, looking on the downside potential in this sort of shorter term frames. This is still showing a higher low, so there's a real sort of mix between the two here. It did break out there yesterday, but it's really sorry, that wasn't yesterday at all. That's on Tuesday, wasn't it? Wednesday is here, and then today, but you've got the lower highs coming through here, looking soft on this time frame. It's sitting there on its quarterly pivot at this stage, bouncing off its quarterly pivot. For the downside, maybe a break of that quarterly pivot would be interesting. It's not hit the daily pivot. So if you get a roll over there, then we've got the S2, maybe even further today. It's barely moved. The pivots are quite pinched, but really struggling here to see much that I really am interested in. Okay, consolidating around the highs here on the euro pound into its monthly pivot. High lows, high highs into that. I get a feeling it might well just continue in the upward route, but you can see the sort of days it's having. There was the news yesterday, and there was the rest of the day all chop, and it's usual candidate for the euro pound. It's much more of a swing pairing for me, but worth a look. Sometimes we get into lovely daily trends, but I'm struggling here to see. I'm sorry, just flicking through a couple of these. Euro CAD, the usual suspect. When it gets there, that'd be good, right? Consolidating, not really going too far at the moment. Again, not for me at this stage. So there's a lot that are not sitting there particularly great. Before I move on from the currencies, if you want to come and join me this morning, I've put a link on for YouTubers. There's a link, or there'll be a link at the bottom of this YouTube video. So if you read the details below, there's a link, and you can come and join me from that. Okay. Currency wise, not seeing a great deal at the moment. I will go through the rest of the pairs I look at. 34 there and reacted, but it's still sort of trending back upwards. Here comes the inflation back into the pound probably. Higher lows going through there. It did break that previous high there. Talking about yesterday, pushed up through as the day went on. What time was that? 8 o'clock when it started moving, but rolled over later Again, it's a 50-50. The big picture here is pushing to the upside. We're right into the resistance of the underside of the daily pivot here. I prefer to be on the upside, so if this reacts to the downside, I'd leave that for now. But I wouldn't be looking at this until this afternoon. Right, equity markets very briefly, S&Ps. So S&Ps, that's always a horrible candle. We saw one of those on the DAX recently, the bearish engulfing, just as we're ending up the very ugly to the alleys on this. Be interesting to see if it can break back above its daily pivot there, push back up there. Well, could continue to drift. So US markets there holding some back. The DAX already, as I said, it put that bearish engulfing in a few days ago, and it's been drifting down a little since then. Lower highs coming through. Just a warning, and again here it's got this right on the underside of its daily pivot. A break of the lows here, and there's no point me putting calling out the lows here, but if you're in a break of the low of the pattern here, could be on for a short, but that bigger trend up here is just too solid for me to be wanting to short it overall. So it would be a sit and wait or do nothing at all. If you're looking for the Santa Claus rallies, they generally, well, the US markets are more reliable on those, but they generally come in between Christmas and the New Year. Right, FTSE pushing up at the moment. It's got, but again, look, same picture on the underside of its daily pivot. Same thing applies for most of these. If they can break those daily pivots, I think we'll see much more. I say much more, but some more upside potential. Okay, that's pretty much it for me today. As I said, if you want to come and join me from the YouTube side, do feel free to do so. Okay, catch you later. Bye for now.